Most games these days are sequels or belong to a big franchise. Think about it, the proportion of games that release every year that already belong to existing huge franchises is massive. But there's at least one company that wants to change this, but at least for itself.
Most big AAA games that come out every year already belong to existing franchises. If it's not a new Assassin's Creed or Call of Duty, it's a game in the Star Wars universe, the Marvel universe, or Halo, or it comes under the Tom Clancy umbrella. Everything belongs under a bigger banner these days. The amount of new AAA IPs released in proportion to the amount of AAA games belonging to existing IPs is very small indeed. Take this year, 2018. In AAA terms, we've had plenty of massive new games already. Monster Hunter World, Far Cry 5, God of War, Jurassic World Evolution, Ni no Kuni 2. We've got plenty to look forward to as well. Spider-Man PS4, Battlefield 5, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Forza Horizon 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, Fallout 76 and plenty more. But how many big releases can you think of this year that are totally new IP? Detroit Become Human, Octopath Traveler, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Does that count as AAA? Sea of Thieves. Again, same question, is that a AAA game? It's not many, and some of the ones that are there are a bit of a stretch. Most of the exciting new IPs are indie games. So this is kind of a big deal because games developers already established franchises. What they're doing is they're leveraging the name of the franchise, cashing in on it essentially. They're using that name to sell their games in future. So you might be developing a game and you could basically make a whole brand new game, but if you call it like Halo or something like that, which Microsoft have been known to do in the past, they've been developing one game specifically, but then just thrown a Halo sticker on it to try and sell you that game because you know the Halo franchise.
Halo Wars, the RTS was the big example.
That's it, and you identify with it, so that will sell you the game, and that's the idea behind it. Building new IPs is a bit of a risk for developers because they don't know whether people are going to buy the games or buy into the franchise, buy into the characters, the new world, and everything surrounding that. So it's seen as a risk in the industry, which is a bit of a shame really, because it holds you back creatively if you're having to retrace your steps in the same worlds, the same characters every single time.
It's getting to the point where you're getting a lot of reboots now as well. You're getting, like God of War, Doom, and I mean they're great games, but you're still getting, we've done that series literally as far as it can go. Let's just start again. Let's just do it again and call the game God of War, call the game Doom. Don't even put a subtitle or a number by it. Just reboot the thing, and if it's good enough, then no one will care. And it's got to that point now. So the more new IPs coming through are mostly kind of indie games, and they're the ones that bring you new names. And there are things like We Happy Few, which is kind of gone from being an indie title to being a AAA title, and that is a new IP as well. And there are examples of that kind of pushing through, but it is a lot of the games that we get that are new are just kind of small indie projects, and they need to be nurtured, and there needs to be definitely more AAA games that are new IPs. Now this is nothing new, of course, and apart from a few memorable standouts each year, the amount of sequels and heavy-hitting franchise installments we get massively outweighs the amount of genuine new stuff. Well, one big AAA publisher that wants to change the status quo, at least with its own catalogue, is Bandai Namco. The company's digital and marketing vice president Herve Hurt spoke to GamesIndustry.biz in an interview that was published this week. And here's what he said, quote, "We want 50% of our business to come from new IPs. Why is this? First, it's to build a sustainable business because most of our IPs are franchises and licenses. To be a sustainable business, you need to have your own IP. Every publisher is building their own IP. The other thing is the IP we have are always reaching the same marketing segment, like fighting and anime. But there's much more to do in the video game market, much bigger genres." But there is something else motivating Bandai Namco as well. Interestingly, Hertz says the company wants to explore IPs in 360 degrees, something that just can't be done with a licensed franchise. The example he gave was the acclaimed indie platformer Little Nightmares, which has gone on to spawn other things, including talks for a movie, which Hertz confirmed.
Bandai Namco is strongest in its home market of Japan, but the push for more IP is part of a push into the West as well. In fact, the company wants 50% of its titles to be developed outside of Japan in future. The company this year announced the formation of a new IP creation unit, specifically to develop new IPs. Not only that, but the company is apparently in talks with about 200 studios per year about the potential of publishing their projects. One example is the upcoming Divinity Original Sin 2 by Larian Studios, already an established classic on PC since it launched last year. which Bandai Namco is bringing to consoles in August. They've also teamed up with Don't Nod, the makers behind Life is Strange and this year's Vampire, for a new IP called Twin Mirror. So what kind of games and new IPs does Bandai Namco actually want to bankroll and publish? Here's Hurt again. Quote, "We are the king of the fighting segment, but that's very small. We have RPGs, which is slightly bigger, but outside these, there are a lot of markets, platforming, sports, racing, action, adventure. There are lots of possibilities for us. We're successful today as a company, but we have bigger ambitions."
I actually find it really refreshing to hear a company talk so much about wanting to make new stuff, wanting to make new IPs, even if it is for really boring business financial reasons, like he's saying there. It doesn't matter. They've created a new set of people, a new team they've come up with to specifically make new IPs and come up with ideas and do research into what kind of thing they could be moving into. Like you said, they've got fighting games, they've got some RPGs and stuff, but they want to branch out into other things completely. A bit of that's going to come from indie, like with Little Nightmares, which is something that they've published, but then they also sound like they really want to step up their game in other fields of AAA gaming as well, which is great news, and great to hear, again, a company openly talking about wanting to make new stuff and not just doubling down on the big franchises that they've already got.
It's the obvious way to grow your business. Obviously, it's speculative because you don't know whether an IP is going to take off. But Call of Duty was a new IP once upon a time. Assassin's Creed was a new IP once upon a time.
Yeah.
And those are the biggest games in the industry right now, the biggest franchises in the industry right now. And unless you're speculating and taking chances on new games and new IPs, then you're never going to find your Call of Duty. You're never going to get your Assassin's Creed. That's just how it is. Yeah. And so Bandai Namco acknowledge this. They realise that. So being speculative like this, for one, it's great for the gamers because you get fatigued with the same games year in year out.
I definitely do.
I wish more companies would take this style and this approach. Like EA, for example. I know they've got their indie little thing now. Their little I can't remember what they call it. What is?
Into our EA Originals program.
EA Originals. I just wish that they were ploughing more resources in and just taking a gamble with something big and ploughing resources into something that, a huge world, a huge new world. Starfield is one of the most anticipated games I have right now. Why? Because it's a new IP, but from a game studio that I really trust, Bethesda Game Studios. I want to see something new, I want to see something fresh, I want to see new ideas from guys who are brilliant at what they do.
It does feel like the industry is waking up to it. It feels like for the last kind of 5-6 years, especially kind of the tail end of the last generation, where the beginning of the 360 era and stuff, and a few years into it, you were getting Dead Space, you were getting Mass Effect, you were getting Gears of War, you were getting all Bioshock, all of these types of games, and then they were just getting sequels, and then we'd kind of got into this rut of having loads of sequels. Now it feels like we're almost Ubisoft has been coming up with new stuff, like For Honor and whatever, just trying new things. And then we've got Anthem coming up, we've got Cyberpunk coming up, we've got all these other, Starfield as you said, we've got all these other IPs that are happening. They are happening. You can see it kind of developing now. It feels like we are getting out of the rut. We had Horizon Zero Dawn like last year and stuff, so it is happening, but it's just great to hear a company just kind of going, we need to make more new games, we need new ideas, and that's not something that you hear very often from video game executives. So Bandai Namco wants 50% of its games to be from new IPs. Is that something that you want to hear your kind of games publishers talking about? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Should be another one right there if you want to watch that. And a link to Patreon if you do want to support the channel. See you next time.